Welcome back. In this lecture, we will go into certain mechanistic aspects of alpha decay, and this would involve quantum tunneling. We will also see why that is so, although some motivations were given in the previous lecture, wherein we introduced alpha decay. So, some aspects of quantum mechanics is necessary to understand this theory. I do understand that many of you who are taking this course might not have done a full-fledged course in quantum chemistry or quantum mechanics, but some familiarity is useful. So at least you should go over this wiki link to understand some aspects. So one of the common problem which we utilize for introducing some concepts in quantum mechanics is what is called particle in a box. So you have a single particle that is confined within a box. How do you represent that problem? You say that the inside the box, the potential energy is zero, and outside the box, the potential energy is infinity, right? So, for example, this can be a room wherein there is a particle is situated, and the walls of the room offer an infinite potential energy barrier. So the uh, particle is confined inside the wall. So that can be a system. So typically, you go about solving the Schrodinger equation based on certain procedures, um, which we won't go into such details in this class. But you can look up this Wikipedia link to give you some flavor of how this is being done. Eventually, what you do is that you have an eigenvalue problem. Okay, so you get the eigenfunctions, which are the wave functions for the problem. So for this problem, that is having solved the Schrodinger equation for a particle in a box, you get these kinds of eigenfunctions, which are the um, wave functions for this system. Corresponding to each eigenfunction, you have an eigenvalue which indicates the energy of the system. So this is the quantum number for this wave function. This is the quantum number for this wave function, and so on. As you increase the quantum number, the number of nodes, that is, the number of times the wave function goes from positive to negative, also increases. Um, with that, the energy also increases. So this is the typical structure, okay, which you implement within quantum mechanics. All right. So what you get here, these are what are called stationary states. That is, once the system is in this state, the energy does not change. There is a fundamental reason for this. Uh, you may have heard that momentum and position, that is, linear momentum and position, are complementary variables that are constrained by uncertainty principle. Likewise, energy and time are also complementary variables that are constrained by uncertainty principle. So, if you know the energy very accurately, that means there is a complete uncertainty in time. That's what we mean by a stationary state. That is, you cannot really specify when the system is at a particular energy, because if you know energy with absolute certainty, you cannot specify time. There is an absolute uncertainty in time, because energy and time are constrained by uncertainty principle. So you can also build some intuition. Okay, so with respect to comparing the results of quantum mechanics to classical mechanics, For example, the square of the wave function represents the probability of finding the particle, right? So if the wave function value is greater here, that means the uh, probability of finding the particle is greater. So supposing you have an oscillating particle, okay, so that is this is the classic, let's say it's like a classical system. Again, this animation is from this wiki link, so you should probably go through that. Because the particle is oscillating, that means the probability of locating the particle also changes. This occurs when the wave function is a mixture of certain states. Okay, so here you said this is all stationary states, but here it's a mixture of certain eigenfunction. Therefore, there is certain time evolution. So the energy of this system is not absolutely specified. Therefore, there are some variation with respect to time also. So each of this is a mixture of eigenstates. Okay, so this particle can be specified using not just via a single eigenfunction, via a set of eigenfunctions. You can go through the wiki link to get a better idea. So one way to build intuition in quantum mechanics is to compare certain classical results with quantum mechanical results. So this is a trajectory that is obtained from, let's say, classical mechanics. That is, let's say, by solving Newton's laws of motion. And such a trajectory can be obtained from quantum mechanical systems also, for quantum mechanical systems also. So here, if you look at these three systems, you have a single wave function. Okay, so energy energy is well defined because there is a single eigenfunction. But here, these are uh, mixed systems. Therefore, there is a time variation and so on. So all these things cannot be just delivered in a particular slide. So you should get some feel for quantum mechanics, even though we are not going to be using a lot of quantum mechanics in this course, or we'll be using the results that are obtained from quantum mechanics. We'll move on. So why did we introduce this? This is the simplest problem that is used in quantum mechanics to get some idea of wave functions. So there is a related problem. So the related problem is this. So in this problem, what is that? What is that we are specifying? So here we are specifying, like in this case, let's say you have potential here, and what we specify here is a barrier. Okay, it's like an energy barrier. In this part of the system, your energy is greater than the potential. Okay, but in this region, energy is less than the potential. Let's try to contrast with this system. So here, the potential was infinity, right? So there is no way the particle can be present here, because if it is present here, the energy will have to be infinity. Okay, so if you want to avoid infinite energy, the particle has to be necessarily be confined inside this region. Okay, so here, what is non-trivial? In classical mechanics, if the energy, typically we're thinking about, let's say, kinetic energy, if the energy is less than the potential energy, there is no way the particle can cross the activation barrier. As opposed to that, in quantum mechanics, even though the energy of the particle is less than this activation barrier, there is some finite chance for the particle to be in this region and escape into this region. Okay, so initially you can imagine in the following manner. Supposing, let's say, a particle is confined in a box. Okay, you have V infinity in this region, and suddenly on one side of the box, the potential is decreased. Let's say in this manner. Okay. So it is not an infinite barrier, but it is a finite barrier. If we, but the finite barrier is such that the barrier energy V is greater than the energy of the particle. Despite this being so, in contrast to classical mechanics, in quantum mechanics, the particle can still exist in this region, and in a way, it can cross across this barrier and move to this region. In this region, again, the energy is greater than the potential energy. Okay, but only in this narrow region, the energy is less than the potential energy. So this is something like an activation barrier. And within quantum mechanics, the particle can tunnel through. Okay, so what do you mean by tunnel through? It doesn't overcome. Okay, when you say it overcomes the activation barrier in classical mechanics, how do we overcome this activation barrier? The energy should be greater than this point. Okay, this region. So you have to move this above this region. That is the only way the particle can overcome the activation barrier. In contrast to that, in quantum mechanics, we say it tunnels through. That means despite the energy, okay, here being less than the potential energy, it can tunnel through. A part of the system can get up. Right? So these are all some standard problems that are taught in a quantum mechanics, quantum chemistry class. So you should get an understanding of these problems if you want to understand nuclear science and engineering in greater depth. Okay, so but for this class, we'll move on and use these results. So all these things looks abstract, but that is not necessarily so. We will see a very practical example of quantum tunneling. Okay, because when you say quantum tunneling in the context of alpha decay, this may look very abstract. Okay, because things are very small and so on. But one of the important applications of quantum tunneling is the scanning tunneling microscopy. Okay, this is an excellent animation which I found in Wikipedia. So we will try to use it. I'll try to first pause it a little bit so that you understand. So let me go back. Okay. So what is that we are seeing here? We are having a system. The thicker this barrier, the particle is always confined within this system. Okay. So this thickness, as the thickness is reduced, the activation barrier is reduced, because of which the particle has some chance of getting out of this barrier. Okay. So I'm just introducing this animation. You should go to this link and go through this animation. So where is this being used? This is used in scanning tunneling microscopy. Let's first go over this animation and explain this. The probability of tunneling is different as the probe is moved across the system. So what is the scanning tunneling microscopy? There is a tunneling current uh, between the atoms on the surface and this probe. Okay, so which helps in visualizing the surface. That is, if you have a surface with these atoms, by measuring the current between the probe and the surface, you can get an idea of the atomic structure. So what is the principle? Okay, so there is a small electric field between the surface and the probe. Okay, uh, let me stop this animation. There is a so just to give an introduction, this is scanning tunneling microscopy, right? So what is the purpose? Purpose is to get an atomic structure. How do you probe the atomic structure? Supposing there is a signal which is present only on top of atoms, and when this signal is not present in the absence of atom, this will help us differentiate regions where atoms are present and regions where atoms are absent. And what is the signal we are talking about? We are talking about a tunneling current. So the tunneling barrier is lesser in on top of the atom because the distance between uh, the probe and the atom or the surface is lesser, and in the region where an atom is not present, the activation barrier is greater. Therefore, the tunneling current will be lesser. Okay, so that is the principle. So why is there an activation barrier? For the electrons to conduct, you need free electrons. But in between the probe and the surface, there are no electrons. So it is like just vacuum. So there is an activation barrier, and the extent of the activation barrier is controlled by the distance between the probe and the surface. Okay, so let us see whether I can play the animation while I explain a little bit. Okay, so yeah, so here we are just talking about a particle that is reflected back, right? Why is it reflected back? The barrier is fairly high because of a thick wall. And gradually the thickness of the wall is decreased. Therefore, the as the thickness is decreased, there is some chance that particle will get outside the box. Okay. All right. So that's as okay. So we have introduced this a finite wall and how a particle can tunnel through, despite its energy being less than the potential energy. We have introduced that concept. Then we are going to illustrate this concept in the context of some atoms that are present on the surface. So this is the surface. There are atoms here. So, and there is a probe and there's a current flow. Okay, so this is the um, this is a schematic of the activation barrier. If there is large distance, the activation barrier is greater. Therefore, the tunneling current is lesser. So there is a thickness variation as the probe is moved across the surface. Okay, so as the probe is brought closer, the activation barrier is lesser, and there is a electronic current that flows, let's say, from the surface to the probe. So as the probe moves, it is the current will vary because the distance between the surface and the probe has changed, right? Because there is atom here, no atom here, and atom here, no atom, and so on. Okay, the signal will also change. So only there is tunneling current as the probe is on top of the atom. So now in this part of the schematic, you what is being done is the signal is mapped onto presence of the atom. So you should go over this. This is an excellent animation. So this tells you a concrete application of quantum tunneling. This scanning tunneling microscopy revolutionized nanoscience because you wanted to visualize things on the surface, and scanning tunneling microscopy helped you get an idea of the atomic structure on the surface, for which Bennig and a few others were given the Nobel Prize. So we will move on. In this is used in to explain alpha decay. This will be dealt with in the next lecture. Uh, thank you.